Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Excalibur Roundtable Tech Talk. We're doing our Knights of the Roundtable series where we're getting a chance to meet and learn a little bit about the wonderful team that makes up Excalibur Data Systems. Today, I'm joined by Rob Goguen. Rob runs our operations up in Canada. Rob, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, it's these we've done a few of these, and it's a lot of fun to kind of learn about and share with our customers and our viewers, our team members, because we have such a wonderful team here at Excalibur. So, Rob, going to go through the same questions we've gone with everybody else. Tell me a little bit about your IT background, and as I've explained to the audience, one of the reasons I asked that question is Excalibur as an organization. I think one of the things that makes us unique and brings extra value to our customers is that our team members have not spent their career, and there's nothing wrong with this at all, spent their careers professional software implementers, but rather they've walked a mile in most of our customers' shoes. They've served in various levels of IT and bring that experience to the table and helping them be successful. So, Rob, take it away. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know your background is quite varied. You've done quite a bit.
It is. It is. So I fell in love with computers. I want to say at the age of 10, 11 years old. My parents, out of nowhere, bought a Commodore 64 when I was about 11 years old, and of course, I just took to it like a fish out of water. And from that point, I fell in love with computers. Uh, you know, and I never really thought it was ever going to be my hobby, or sorry, my career. I always thought it was going to be my hobby, but my hobby turned into my career, so that means that I love what I do. It started with learning how to code, learning how to program, and like GW Basic and stuff like that, and back in the day, and that just created an appetite for wanting to learn more. So I was programming at a young age, 12, 13 years old. And by the time I was 15 years old, I was full out building computers. I knew two or three different programming languages at that time, self-taught. And I said, this is a great gig. I really enjoy what I'm doing. So carry forward from that. That's when I got accepted into university. At the time, I was also in the military, and went into university doing a computer science degree in software development. So I actually started out in programming, is where that came about. And that transitioned into, you know what, I kind of been there, done that, bought the t-shirt feeling, and started falling in love with a lot of other aspects of technology, which included networking and so on and so forth. So I went through a program. It was a 2-year program I completed in 5 months, actually, on network engineering. I became a network engineer, getting Microsoft MCSE certification and NT 4.0, which was the latest and greatest at the time, and proceeded to do that. And my first big professional job in IT, to be like legitimize that you're an IT person, was back in 1999. Freshly certified MCSE, got accepted in a job with one of the world's largest online training companies as a subject matter expert, and fresh out of school, and started getting into this whole new world of IT, which was IT education. And that's where that began. And then my career just sort of went from there. I was a whopping 19 years old, freshly minted MCSE, which was the hottest thing in the market at the time. Everybody wanted an MCSE working for them, and especially an NT 4.0. But through that education process of working for them, I have amassed a very large amount of certifications and qualifications. I was expected to not only work in the curriculum design component to it, but also work in mentoring services and actually teach it as well. So you can't teach something you're not certified in. And so off to the races, my IT education career started. So I spent the vast majority of my IT career leading up to this this moving back into an operational level in IT education, probably the better part of almost 15 years of it.
And then you transitioned into some other things that kind of got you
I
into the
did.
world of ITSM.
That's right. So when I was working as a senior trainer, the one of the things that the company I was working for at the time, a very large company, one of the largest companies in the hospitality space actually, they were transitioning into this thing called ITEL. I was like, what's ITEL? And the next thing you know, I'm the company's trainer. So what did they do? They sent me away to go get certified in this thing called ITEL. And at the time it was version 2, back when things were much simpler in life when it comes to the ITEL world. And that transitioned into continuing my education in the ITEL space, ultimately becoming the company's trainer in the ITEL space and actually teaching ITEL back in the V2 days. And that sort of took me down that road into learning process and different things like that. And then as I transitioned forward, I ended up getting a job with a different company, which saw me now transition in from that education space into an operational space. And given my education background and qualifications, it led me into some pretty incredible opportunities in the operations space. So working as a senior IT operations analyst for a very short period of time before transitioning into, of all things, becoming the change manager for a large global enterprise. So I did that for the better part of 4 years, where I was the enterprise change manager. And I'll tell you, taking what you learn in the classroom and moving that into the real world was an incredible opportunity to learn the differences between book knowledge and applied knowledge within operations. And so I have been part of core teams for incident management, problem management. I ran change management for quite some time, and then also was involved in the structure of configuration management and knowledge management in an actually applied setting within a very large enterprise.
When you
So
were
I got.
also managing the tool set at the
That's
time
right.
as
And
well.
at the time, they said, hey, you're our ITEL guy. Why don't we give you the tools that we have and let you manage that as well? So part of the other hat I was wearing at the time of being an enterprise change manager was also being the owner of the Sharewell software at the time, which is the tool that they had purchased just prior to me coming on board. And so all of a sudden they dumped that in my lap as well. Now I had to suddenly become an expert in this tool. And it's not without merit that they gave it to me, though, because prior to this, I was a certified Axios trainer, a certified Heat trainer. I've worked with Remedy. I've worked with a number of ITEL or IT-based platforms for ticketing and process management prior to being put in that position. So in various capacities, whether I was training the solution or working with the people who were developing those solutions, and et cetera, et cetera. So I had a lot of ITSM, experience within that platform space. So when it was just a natural thing for them to put that in my lap, I didn't like it at the time, but it is what it is. And I fell in love with the platform. And I realized the capabilities of, if I take my knowledge in process and my deep understanding of how that all works from both an applied perspective and from a book perspective, and take a very flexible, powerful platform, I can really make a big difference in an organization. And that's what I did. I was the owner of a very important process, along with overseeing the development of the platform that was going to help us shape how we were going to manage those processes in the enterprise. So it was it was a very wonderful experience to go through from a career perspective, because you got to get your hands, elbow deep into. You take your education that you spent over a decade acquiring, and then you get to apply it in an operational sense and have the autonomy to apply that knowledge and figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how it impacts an organization as a whole. And that was an incredible experience for me to go through. that has really shaped who I am as an Excalibur consultant, and mentoring other consultants within our organization to try to help shape them and give them the knowledge that they need to become effective at what they do.
But it's also the knowledge you carry forward to help customers.
Hmm.
One of the things we've talked about, over and over is, what we call the pyramid, right? People, process, and
Yeah,
tool,
yeah.
right? And
And when
if
I
you
when
have
I used to teach that, Mike, I used to call it the three-legged stool.
Mhm.
And the organization isn't a three-legged stool. It won't be able to stand up straight unless all three legs are working together. And if you don't have those three legs working together, then the stool falls over, right? Or the pyramid analogy. There's lots of different ways to explain it to people.
But it's something we talk about a lot here internally, and bringing our
Hmm.
knowledge and experience, because we've so many of us have served in various roles within IT. We're able to bring that experience to help customers be successful. So shifting gears for a moment, um,
Sure,
you live in a very interesting part of the world.
I
Um,
do.
One of the things that we kind of joke about, and for a lot of our customers being U.S. based, um, in the U.S. we really think of four primary time zones. Well, there's actually five. There's an Atlantic time zone, which is where you are on
That's
the
right.
east coast of Canada.
That's right. So I live in a province of New Brunswick, which is on the east coast of Canada, and I am in the Atlantic time zone, which is an hour ahead of the Eastern time zone. And just for a tidbit of information, Canada has yet another time zone further east than me, even called the Newfoundland time zone, which is technically 30 minutes ahead of me. Yes, 30 minutes. You heard it correctly. So
Just like India. India
just
is
like in
30
India.
minutes off. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, and funny enough, being in Canada, I'm looking out the window right now. It's actually snowing right now. This time of year is a wonderful time of year because you have snow one day and beautifully sunny the next day, and you get your hopes up only to have another blizzard the day after. So it's just a wonderful experience of shifting of seasons.
Well, you're in New Brunswick, but
I
specifically
am.
St. John.
St. John, New
You,
Brunswick. Yeah, I'm
mhm.
I'm on the East Coast. I'm in a port city. Actually, we're called the port city. St. John is the oldest incorporated city in Canada, actually, and it is well known for its history in shipbuilding and a number. It's a very industrial city, and yeah, it's we're right on the water, so right on the East Coast.
Well, and you have some interesting. Now, and I only know this stuff because I've had a chance to visit numerous times.
You have.
You have the reversing falls,
We
which we
do.
won't go into detail on that, but people can Google it.
They
And it
can.
is one. It's the only place in the world
Hmm.
that this happens, where a river every day changes its course.
It does. So the river, the St. John River, that flows right up through the province, empties into the Bay of Fundy through the St. John River, and there's this point where the Bay of Fundy has the largest tides in the world. More water flows in and out of the Bay of Fundy than the entire amount of water, of freestanding water in every lake and river in North America combined. It is an enormous event to witness. The tidal shifts can 15, 20 feet difference between when the tide is in and the tide is out. So what happens is that when the tide is coming in, it pushes against the flow of the river going into the bay. And with so much incredible force, it actually shifts the direction of the river to instead of flowing down, it flows up. And it is quite an experience to see when the river and the tide and the bay get into a fight every 12 hours. And it is quite a thing to witness. You got these big whirlpools, you have all kinds of interesting action that's happening, and it's quite something to see.
So, just a little tidbit. If folks are looking for a vacation spot up in Canada, not only is St. John beautiful, it's very historic, and you have
Hmm.
interesting, wonders of the world. Places that only these things happen, it's a great thing to witness. Having witnessed it myself, and actually witnessed it on both sides, where we got to see the tidal shift, and then also be all the way up at the other end of the river to watch how far the tide actually comes up, where you can actually walk out to certain caves on low
Yep.
tide, and then the caves are completely underwater at high tide.
Hmm.
It really was an amazing thing to experience. But Google it; you guys can read all about it. Now,
I
Rob, you have
should.
some
Yeah.
some interesting hobbies and things that you're involved in.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this.
So when I emphasized earlier that IT has always been like a hobby to me, and then I turned it into a profession, but my true passion has always been medicine, actually, of all things. So aside from my everyday work life here, I'm the former superintendent of the St. John Ambulance Brigade for our region, and I actually volunteer as a medic with inside of our community. To add to that, given my background and training, I actually am also an instructor. So I teach firefighters, I hold first responder courses, I have taught for both the Red Cross and the St. John Ambulance. So as a hobby, that's what I do. I volunteer in our community to provide medical services to different events throughout the community, and to assist with that. And it's a way for me to give back to the community, but also do something that I have a strong passion for, is that medical side of things. I've always had an interest in medicine ever since the age of 15, when I wanted to be a doctor in the Navy, of all things. But of course, IT sort of ended up ruling in the end, and pulling me into it. So
Well, it's funny because we actually here at Excalibur, we will Rob's kind of the internal doc. If you have something weird you want to ask a question about, it's likely he knows something about it, and can share a little bit of information. So Rob, thanks for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to be able to get together, and I think these videos are going to be so exciting for our customers and friends that are out there to learn a little bit about the Excalibur team.
well, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and stay tuned for more episodes and to learn a little more about the Knights of the Round Table that make up Excalibur Data Systems.